started teaching yoga to music all over the world, playing like hip hop rap music to yoga, and kind of realizing that the two sort of like didn't seem like they worked together. They worked perfectly.
Right.
Even me and a friend was like, she's like, you're like a gangster. She's like a spiritual gangster. It was always like, how do we take this frequency, this energy, and get it out to people? The t-shirt represents more than what it says. It stands for something. It's literally a frequency that helps you embody a better version of you.
Hey Yetta, you know how much love and respect I have for you? Girl,
Ditto.
Why do I feel like I'm your best friend? I just met you.
You are merging of Oprah and Barbara Walters. There you go.
Joining us at the desk today is Emmy Award-winning journalist and anchor. It's Yetta Gibson, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this brand new Arizona's Family original. We are here back in our fabulous new studio with all the sofas and things. New look, same great guests that we always have every week. Tonight, as you saw there, we do have a gangster with us. I'm very excited. The spiritual gangster, as you saw there. The man who started what became a global clothing brand has made it his mission to push people into creating their best life, become their best selves, and promoted that through clothing that showcases how spirituality looks good on anyone. And if you know me, you know I'm a bit of a woo-woo person myself. So talking to Ian was right up my alley. He has so many layers to him, and talking to him was just so fascinating. Watch this. Okay, so we're rolling now. Okay, so one of the first things that came up about you was before you were a gangster, you were a hip hop yogi. And how did you get that name?
So, I grew up in Detroit, so I might have been a gangster early on.
Oh, you were a gangster before.
Early.
Makes sense.
Ian Lopatin, aka Spiritual Gangster. You may not know the man behind the popular brand, but surely you've seen the digs. Before Ian became the gangster he is today, he was a hustler.
I went to LA and I went to law school.
Yeah.
And in law school, I started taking yoga. My mom at the time lived in Florida, and my mom used to have yoga teachers who came to our house. So I thought she was like nuts, like back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there'd be like the neighbors would be doing headstand in the back room. So flying back from Florida to California, and this Indian guy in a satin jacket with a tiger on the back, and his wife sitting next to me in the airplane. So we start talking a little small talk, and about like 3 hours in the flight, I take out my yoga book. He goes, "You do yoga?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm Bikram." I'm like, "You want to see my book?" He's like, "I got my own book."
The
copies.
Bikram yoga guy?
Bikram yoga, notorious now, but
Oh, yes.
I picked up Bikram's yoga book, and the next day I started going to yoga in the morning before basically going to school.
Yeah.
One thing's lead to another.
Ian eventually pulled together a business plan and opened up a chain of yoga studios.
I just kind of started with like kind of yoga music.
Yeah,
And
the
we started
typical
moving
yoga
like,
music.
you know, hip hop, like Bob Marley. And then I would use stuff with like a big beat, like everything from Michael Jackson to Biggie to Tupac.
That's different.
Because the whole room would act like a school of fish. And you throw on even like the whitest, like most out of tune person would get the beat, and I could move the whole energy back there.
Right, right.
So then I started teaching yoga to music all over the world. And after class one day, I taught our studio was right down the street from here, and a friend was like, she's like, "You're like a gangster." She's like a spiritual gangster.
Ooh.
So that's kind of how I went. That's where spiritual gangster, and my wife, Vanessa, she started making t-shirts in our yoga studio that said spiritual gangster. But spiritual gangster really came from me playing like hip hop rap music.
I mean, obviously, when that person said that to you, it stuck. So that's one thing. But the brand ended up being huge. Did you expect that?
You know, I think we always believed, you know, one of the things when we sold the yoga studios to Lifetime Fitness, we're like, how do we take what we learned and what we're learning and share this vibration with the world? So it was always our vision for it to be big. I think there's a lot of runway left in front of it. So the t-shirt represents more than what it says. It stands for something. It's literally a frequency that helps you embody a better version of you.
I remember when I was doing yoga, when I saw the brand, it meant something to me personally versus just an overall brand, you know, like you see Nike and all this. For me, I was like, ooh, that speaks to me. I don't know in what way it did at the time, but I think that was the magic behind it.
I feel like, when you were probably doing, my wife Vanessa was the designer of the brand, so it was so on frequency and it spoke to so many different people. And I think brands also sometimes, like a friend of mine, actually John Mayer told me that, like
John Mayer?
The John Mayer.
Oh, wow.
Brands are like albums, right? Where you have different periods of time, they have different frequencies, right? So they're expressions of something at that period of time. And so what Spiritual Gangster now is even different than what it was at that time.
So it's evolved as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know you've sold it, but it's still very much you. That's what I think.
I feel like we're still connected to it. I mean,
Yeah.
we still own a piece of it, but we don't control it, and we're
Correct,
not
yeah.
day-to-day in it.
Yeah.
But we still, it's like a child of ours.
Ian's path remains the same, trying to bring positivity to the world, to people individually, creating a movement, leading people to become their best selves.
How do we build ways for get people connected and create community? And those are the things that now I'm even leaning into more, and just ways of showing people how to feel better about themselves, spreading positive messaging. I think that I had an idea maybe for my life. My dad was an attorney.
Yeah.
So I was working at the White House, and then my dad was like, look, if you go to law school, I'll pay for law school. At least I know you won't be pumping gas for a living. Because I did really well in law school. I had like the best entertainment law job in LA. We represented Disney, Sony Pictures. And then I was like, wait a minute. I would go to the partners, and they'd take me to their country club, or I'd see their clients, and like, 20 years you can be this. I'm like, I don't want to be.
You knew then. You knew then.
I knew before I started, right? But I knew I wanted to do something else, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. Toward the end of Spiritual Gangster, I just knew that I needed to make some changes because I was not happy. And really, I realized it's like, okay, I'm a teacher. I love to teach, even being a yoga teacher. I love to share, and I love to help people really excel and grow.
He's now working on several projects. He conducts a daily online meditation session where folks tune in from all across the country. He's also written a book and has a new brand called Of Course.
So you can either be in the suffering state or you can be in this beautiful state. And I call them suffering state is off course, and this beautiful state is of course. I feel like I am so in the right place at the right time now to share what I know with the world.
I always ask people the same question. Are you proud of yourself and what you've done?
Yes.
And what you are doing, really. You're still doing it.
I feel very proud of myself, and I think if you asked me a year ago, I would have said no.
Why?
I think one, stopping drinking is a huge thing. I didn't realize how hard I was making on myself and how much insanity I was causing, and so that's a big thing to get over because it was so ingrained culturally, socially, everything, all my friends since I was in college to wherever, so that's a huge accomplishment for me.
And you've been sober how long?
I had 15 months.
15, congratulations.
So I haven't had a drink in 15 months, maybe close to 16. But,
okay.
I've also feel like I have a great relationship with our kids. I'm really grateful. I have a great wife, Vanessa. I feel like we have a happy, healthy family. I have great friends. And I also think, we're making a difference in the world. But I also don't feel like anything that I've accomplished is coming close to what I'm about to do.
Tell me about your book.
So my book, it's the story of a kid who was a lawyer who grew up in Detroit. It's a fiction, but a lot of it's based on me, my life. And I know one of my best friends, his name was Josh. He died of cancer about 5 years ago. So the main character is Josh.
Okay.
Josh's father dies, so he goes through all this suffering. And then his grandmother, who's named Joy, and then she introduces him to this character, Ray, which is kind of based on me. And Ray helps Josh with people to connect with on the journey, to get lessons on how to live in the energy, to live a happy life and land in this beautiful, joyous state. And it's the beginning of the journey.
Do you know that you're making a dent in helping people, realize it
sure.
or get into a higher frequency?
For sure. Somehow people are like, oh, I don't believe in coincidences. They think it's happened by accident. But life is, once you become more awake, control's a total illusion. So it gets harder and harder. And ultimately, the only way to do it is let it go. Nothing's in your control. My mom's been gone 8 years ago, and she always used to say, Ian, there's a reason why wellness starts with we and illness starts with I. Ooh. I'm going to say that one more time.
Yes, please.
There's a reason why wellness starts with we and illness starts with I. So if we can change the frequency from this obsessive, self-centric thinking pattern to how do we make the world a better place, how do we connect?
Gotcha. Very well said. Would you say what you're doing now is harder than being a lawyer?
Yeah, being a lawyer is easy. It's like,
I
mean,
would
look,
say that for
I
sure.
think, look, not that, but like, you can be great at that. It's the impact that I can make is way more meaningful, right? So I'm like, look, I have big work in the world to do right now. I'm here, I'm moving mountains, but I'm ready for it and I'm capable of doing it.
So the one thing that stuck with me about Ian, our conversation, is how we really need to stop overthinking, how we are really the culprits of creating our own problems most of the time, not all the time, but sometimes we are. Most of the things that we worry about usually never really happen, so we just need to let go. That's what I took from it. Anyways, you can pre-order Ian's book. It's called The Way of the Spiritual Gangster, and we will have a link on our Instagram pages and things. Okay, coming up next, as Ian talked about, in a nutshell, stop pretending, stop striving for perfection. Some of us, let's be honest, we are definitely trying to be perfect. So there is a show that we're going to talk about after the break. It's on Apple right now. It addresses just that. Imperfections, trying to be perfect. Kerry Washington is one of the stars. Yes, we're talking about Olivia Pope. This show is called Imperfect Women. So my perfect friend, Heather, is here, and we're going to talk about, she's joining me on the couch, and we're going to talk about, dealing with the struggle. We're moms, we are women, we are wives. Well, she is, I'm not. And we're going to talk about the pressure of being, I'm your wife, okay. We're going to talk about the pressure of being perfect. That's coming up after the break.
A body was found early this morning that we have reason to believe is your wife's.
I've done things
You may have been the last person to talk to your friend.
you'll never know.
Can you tell us anything that you remember?
All right, welcome back. Actress Kerry Washington, you saw her there. We know her as Olivia Pope, but she is convinced that this show could be your next binge-worthy moment, okay? So she stars in this new show. It's called Imperfect Women. You saw a little bit of the trailer there. It's based on a novel from 2020. The show is 8 episodes. It centers around a crime that shatters the lives of 3 longtime friends. Kerry is co-starring with Elizabeth Moss and Kate Mara. The show covers it all: guilt, betrayal, obsession, and the secrets we keep even from those who are closest to us. So Tara Hitchcock, she spoke with these 3 stars. They spoke candidly about all things imperfect in their lives.
Worshipped. The title obviously is Imperfect Women, but I'm just curious. I'd love each of you to say something that's kind of perfect about the person sitting next to you. I don't know where to start, but maybe Elizabeth, start with Kate. What's just perfect about Kate?
Put on the spot. Oh my God. It's kind of what we were talking about earlier, and I could say it about the both of them actually. There's really, and I think we've all experienced, you've experienced it on your end, I'm sure, when you do interviews with people, you cross paths with actors. There is sometimes a difference between somebody on camera or doing an interview and off camera behind the scenes. I would say it is rare to find the other side of it. And these women, there's not that much difference between who they are when they're talking to you here than there is when this goes off. They are very much their authentic selves, which I'm sure has come through 20 years of work. I don't know if it's something that they were born with, but it's something that I've observed, and I think it's one of the reasons why we all get along. We're not very fake. We kind of are who we are, and that's something that I really respect and admire about them, and I think is absolutely perfect.
That's
kind
so
of it's
sweet.
True.
I'll go next
and personally.
because my response to that question for both of you is the same answer as well. Is like your dedication to your kids is to me, that's always the most admirable thing for me. I'm always really inspired by that, especially in our industry, because it's really complicated to be a working parent in this industry. But that to me is like the most important thing. And so to see that in other actresses that like that is the most important thing, that like that's my day job. This just happens to be like my part-time job. Like that, I find that really inspiring. Yeah.
Oof, that's nice.
Okay, so mine is for both of you also.
I feel like you were like,
this is like turning into Oprah. You guys.
No. It'd be funny if you were like, this is just for Kate.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That would be so funny. I think that we get this messaging often in this business that people are very competitive and cutthroat, and that there's only room for one, and that like, you know, people are very self-centered and only care about themselves. And it was just so fun to make this show with you both, where it was so clear that it was important to each of us that each other shine. And you are both so generous and like of service in the work, and like really present for not just your own process, but everybody's. It's so beautiful.
I really love all these compliments.
Yeah.
I do too. I think this is the perfect way to end, because I know they're kicking me out.
Carrie really put them, Tara put them on the spot. Heather Morris is joining me on the couch. You know her from the hit show on Glee a few years back, and we are excited to find out about all the stuff you're doing, because you're doing a lot. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but I'm going to put you on the spot. Tell me about all the perfect things about me.
About you?
No, I'm kidding.
I was just going to say, I felt like the way that they answered that was perfect, because that's how I feel about you.
Oh, me too. I feel
I feel like you never put anything on when we're together. Like you just are you.
Yeah,
and I really cherish that.
And it's the same. You know, I know you don't like to hear this, but you became this huge star, and we've known each other for so long. And the moment I talked to you after your run, I was like, oh my gosh, she's the same person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same with you, because you're a star.
Yes. Let's talk about pressure. Of being perfect. You know, we don't do that per se, but we've got kids to raise. You're a wife, you're a woman, you're an actress, and you kind of have to keep it all together, which sometimes feels like you have to be perfect. How do you navigate that? And do you even feel that way in the first place?
Honestly, like, I don't think we have to keep it all together anymore. I feel like Instagram and accessibility on Instagram has allowed people to see the imperfect side of women, and it's okay for us to kind of show like the not so glamorous parts.
Yeah. And what are those things specifically that you're like, thank goodness people don't care about this anymore?
Like, I can just be whoever I want. I can talk about farting. I can talk about
and she
my
does that
pimples. I can talk about, you know, breaking into random accents at all times and not feeling like I have to be this perfect person all the time. I felt like you were kind of this weirdo and dime of a dozen if you did that 20 years ago.
Yeah,
and people
for sure.
were like, she has no
filters.
sort of PR training, like what? And then I feel like Jennifer, what's her name, from Hunger Games sort of changed that, and she was just like, here I am.
Yeah.
I'm alive.
She was
and
one of the
ready.
first.
She was one of the first.
Yeah.
That was just like, let me just talk about whatever I want to talk about, and it's okay, and it's accessible.
And there's no such thing as perfection. Let's just be honest.
No, there is no such thing.
But now it's just a little bit more open. Now, you joined us on the show a few months ago. We were talking about your makeup and all the stuff that you were doing then, but you got something big coming up that we're going to talk about after the break. You want to give folks a hint before we go to commercial? Just
full
one
on dancing. Ooh.
Line dancing.
Full on it's all dancing. It's
all
it's
dancing.
a whole
but
dance
that's
show.
your thing. What is the one shocking thing that will make people stay and watch after this commercial?
I'm going to be joining off Broadway. I'm going to be
not
going
all of
to
it.
New York.
Not all of it.
Not all of it.
No, don't give it all away.
I didn't say anything else.
Okay.
I was just going to say off Broadway.
Off Broadway. We'll be right back. We are back with actress, dancer, singer, Heather Morris, triple threat, really. That's what we're going to call her. She was raised here in Arizona and has some pretty exciting things coming up. You know, what's interesting to me is you started as a dancer as a little kid.
Yes.
You got to dance with Beyonce when you got older.
Yes.
And then you ended up becoming a huge star on the hit show Glee, which I'm sure people are like, that's where I know her from, Brittany.
Yes.
And so now you're headed to New York because you've got another thing that is happening.
I do.
You are full of luck.
It is it is
Yes!
when hard work meets opportunity is what it is.
That's
what I like to say. That's what I like to say.
We've shown a bit of the video here. Explain people what they're seeing.
So I am joining the cast of 11 to Midnight.
Okay.
It was created and choreographed by Austin and Meredith Talenko.
What is
which
it about?
You know them
as
Cost and Mayor from Instagram. They are the famous TikTok Instagram couple who did those like funny jingles in their attic during the pandemic,
so
right?
this is them.
So this is them. They created this Broadway production about 7 people who are sort of exploring like what their hope is for the new year, ringing in the new year from 11 to midnight. And you go like character by character and kind of see how they redefine themselves during those moments.
And the story is told through dance.
And the story is told entirely through dance. So like, what a time to be a dancer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we have so many incredible dancers right now doing so many big things. You know, on stage, off Broadway. Like, it's just so cool that they took this concept. Not only that, but like they started on Instagram and TikTok and they took off.
Yeah,
they took the opportunity.
Speaking of opportunity, how did you get this opportunity? How did this even come about? Because you weren't expecting this.
I was not expecting it at all. No, I was like almost in the midst of giving up like
Really?
my entire career.
Why?
Yeah, you know. Well, I mean, if I have been, let's say this is any like job opportunity, if I have been applying for jobs for years and years and I'm like constantly getting a no, you know, it weighs on you and you're never like, hey, I'm gonna give up because I'm not talented. It's like, this is probably
it
wears on you.
Yeah.
You're wondering like why is this not happening?
Yeah.
So
it was that part
we're
of
talking
you,
about journaling.
Yeah. Was that part of you leaving LA and coming here? That was
very
that was a
separate
part
things.
of it. But journaling, let's talk about that because we were watching Ian, the spiritual gangster, earlier, and I was like, well, what do you do to just kind of make things a bit easier? Because a lot is going on in life, no matter who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a mother. I'm a mother. That alone makes me go to bed at 7 p.m. every night. I do. So I like to journal. I really try to understand myself better on a day-to-day basis and like why I handle things the way I do, like how I see things, how I was brought up. And sometimes I overanalyze myself and I try not to. So if I just write it down on a piece of paper, I'm not necessarily like stuck in my own head of overanalyzing something. I'm actually seeing like how I'm getting to certain points and why I'm getting to points, or like maybe something from my past has taken me there, or whatever it is. So I try to see it on paper.
That's healthy.
It feels healthy, yes.
Real quickly,
and cheaper than therapy.
Yes,
sorry.
That's right. No, that's the way to do it. Real quickly, when will we see you? And if people are going to head to New York, how can they see you?
When people head to New York, I will be joining the cast from April 9th to May 11th. The show does run until May 31st at the Orpheum Theater on the Lower East Side of Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will look for it on your Instagram too.
Oh, I will be sharing so many things, lots of TikTok dances.
Heather, thank you so much, and you're perfect.
You're
perfect. Thank you for joining us for this Arizona's Family Original. We will see you back again next week.
You're not the light at the end of the tunnel. It's like you get in the tunnel and it gets so dark that you realize you are the light. If people start to embody this frequency, life gets so much better. It gets free of suffering. You don't cause suffering to others.
Well, and it changes the world.
Changes the world.
Yeah. Everybody else is operating on a completely different frequency. And what
they're running a different program.
They are.
It was great to hang out with you.